Hello, friends. Thanks again for joining me on Rupert Cooks. This episode is sort of a little bit of a continuation of the previous episode on chicken vindaloo. Basically, it's very hot here and I don't want to heat up the kitchen any more than necessary, but I felt that that dish really needed a side dish beyond just the basic rice. So I decided to do a very traditional Indian cooking thing, dal, which basically means lentils. Um, and this is going to be Dal Fry, where it's lentils with fried onions. It's hard to underestimate in a country where 80 to 90% of the population is vegetarian how important beans and legumes are to the diet. And this is where the Instant Pot or any pressure cooking thing really shines. If you're cooking meats in the Instant Pot, the pressure cooking has the advantage of cooking it faster and sort of driving the flavor into the meat better, I feel. But with beans of any kind, it really shortens your cooking time. You're not sitting there having to soak the beans and do all of that stuff. Lentils are usually not too bad. You can usually do, they're kind of like split pea or something where it's not that bad. But if you're doing anything with, say, dried chickpeas, uh, now you're sitting there soaking them on overnight, and things can just go on forever. Every now and then, I get to talking with somebody and about, I meet them at a party or something like that, and they're like, "Well, what do you like to do?" And well, I like to cook, and it's like, "Oh, okay." Then the conversation wanders around to like, "Well, do you have kids?" And it's like, "Well, yes, I do." "Oh, well, how many kids do you have?" And I'm like, "Well, it's down to two now." Uh, yeah, because, well, there were tragedies waiting around for the beans to soak overnight. So I really appreciate pressure cooking and the Instant Pot for anything with beans because it just makes it so much less of a hassle. And I'm going to show you how to do that today. So let's get to it. Okay, so the first step in this, and this is a very quick recipe, don't worry, is we need 1 cup of red lentils. You can get these in any grocery store really easily. I don't know if it would be worth it to a trip to an Indian grocery store to get them. They're going to have a lot more variety of them. They'll have the red, the yellow, and black, all that kind of thing, if you care to. The other thing that we are going to need that is fairly essential is this: the trivet that comes with most Instant Pots and knockoffs of the same. And what we're going to do is put the water in the Instant Pot, put this on the trivet, stick it in, cook. You could, I suppose you could do it just putting the beans straight into the water in there, but now you're trying to strain the water out of these very small lentils, and it's kind of going to get a little bit messier than it needs to be because now they're going to be sticking all this strainer and you can have a big mess. So if you still have the trivet and it hasn't been lost, I advise strongly to use it. So what we're going to do is put 1 cup of water into our Instant Pot. And we're going to take our trivet with the beans. Now we need another cup of water in them. And we're going to put the whole kit and caboodle into the Instant Pot. I love that like Pac-Man game sound. Makes me so excited. Like, wow. Dating myself, I suppose. We are going to put it on pressure cook. Custom. 5 minutes. High. Start. That's all there is to it for that step. Okay, so now we need to fry up our onions. I've got 1 red onion sliced nice and thin here. And we've got a teaspoon of cumin seeds. I don't know, about, what is that? About 1/3 of a cup of chopped garlic and 4 dried chilies. What we're going to do is heat up our oil in the pan and I don't know, tablespoon of oil in the pan, heat it up so it's good and hot. We're going to add these three, the teaspoon of cumin seeds, the quarter cup of garlic, third cup of garlic, and the 4 chili peppers to it to season the oil. Cook it for a little bit, then throw the onion rings in and get them cooking. All this whilst our beans are cooking away in the Instant Pot. So let's get our oil heating up and we will proceed. Okay, so our oil is going pretty nicely. And let's put in the cumin seeds. Give those a little stir. See, that's what you want, is some sizzle. You don't want to be bashful here. And what we're trying to do is get the oil seasoned here. So we're just going to cook this for about a minute or so. You don't want to have the garlic turn like dark brown on you or anything at this stage. I mean, it will eventually with all the cooking, but there we go. All right, that's good enough. So now we're going to throw our onions in. And give them a little stir. You want the cooking oil and the ingredients here to sort of really mush around the onions so that all that flavor from them goes into them. Now you really could do this all in the Instant Pot, waiting for the beans to cook, take them out, then do the saute thing with the onions and spices so you're not dirtying another pot. I kind of really don't like to do that because, first of all, I don't find sauteing in the Instant Pot all that convenient because it's deep and you're sort of reaching in and it's annoying. Plus, I don't have my stove hood on, which I normally would be using, but I don't for these videos because it's very loud and annoying. So we're going to go like 7 or 8 minutes on the onions, stirring occasionally. Do not stir all the time. If you stir all the time, I find that onions don't really brown as well. You want to stir sort of periodically. And it's especially difficult with red onions because they're red onions, so it's a little bit harder to tell when they're browned, when they're browning right. So we're going to let that go 7 or 8 minutes. I'll probably stir it like once or twice, and then we will proceed with things if the cat allows me, because the cat is clearly bugging the crap out of me. I'll be right back. Okay, so our beans have finished pressure cooking for about 11 minutes. Remember, it cooks the allotted time, then it goes to warming mode and starts counting up. And so usually around 10 minutes or so is what I allow for a natural release. So we're going to release that, hit cancel, and you can see not much comes out. So the pressure's all really been released already. And now we need to deal with our frying onions, as you can hear them. And what I'm going to do is I went through why I prefer using canned tomatoes for a lot of Indian food. And I'm going to use what is left over in this big can of crushed tomatoes from the chicken vindaloo recipe. Don't know how much it is. Let's see. Oh, I don't know. About 1.5 cups. So we're going to put that in, stir it around, let it cook for a little bit, and then we're going to add our lentils from the Instant Pot. Okay, so you can see how much our onions have changed color. Any little brown sticky stuff on the bottom, just scrape it up a little bit. And here we go, our 1.5 cups of precisely measured tomatoes. Will help deglaze things a little bit. And a teaspoon of turmeric. A teaspoon of ground cumin this time. A teaspoon of salt. Stir it all up. I'm going to lower my heat a little bit. Get it to a simmer. And let's add some water I'm gonna add about a cup of water here to the whole shebang. There we go. All right, and let's add the lentils. Okay, so getting the lentils out of here is a little bit of a production. You need some oven mitts or something because this is hot as hell. Welding gloves, anything like that. I wouldn't use tongs because we're going to take these out. Now we've got this red hot thing of lentils here. And the bowl is still hot, so we now have to go and sort of scrape them all in there. Be careful doing this because, as I said, that bowl is really crazy hot. Because you've been cooking under pressure, and the entire idea of pressure cooking is getting things slightly hotter than normal. Okay. All right. Okay, and here are our lentils, stirring them in. You can try them at this point. They might still be a little bit stiff. Well, let's see. Yeah. So if they are a little stiff, I'm going to put in another 3/4 of a cup of water. I don't know, half a cup of water or so. There we go. That's a little bit better consistency there. Because the thing of it is, you got all this tomato in there, and if it's too thick, what's going to happen is it's going to caramelize and really stick to the bottom of things. So now cover it up, and we're just going to let it go for, I don't know, 20 minutes or so should probably do it. Low heat, we're simmering here. And here we are all served up. I felt that I should probably serve it with the chicken vindaloo that I made the last time because just a plate of dal looks kind of sad. But it makes a fantastic meal and goes really well with the chicken and the rice that I made as well. One thing to notice here that I always find kind of interesting, especially with regard to spices and any kind of cooking, but it's a particular thing in Indian cooking, is you might notice that we heated up the oil and added cumin seeds to that, got the oil all seasoned, then cooked our onions for a while, 10 minutes or so, 9 minutes. Then we added the tomato and ground cumin. And the reason why we do that at the end is that at the first part, what we're trying to do is season the oil and get that flavor into the onions and everything, right? But in the second part, we add the ground cumin because that and the turmeric are aromatic spices. So if you cook them for a really long time, the thinking goes, and I think it's kind of true, that a lot of the flavor is lost. So put them in at the end. You might even want to sprinkle some on before serving. But that's why we do that. And it's a particular feature of Indian cooking where a lot of times you are seasoning the oil with the seeds of the spice and then using the ground spice afterwards. For example, with an aromatic spice like garam masala, masala, by the way, just means mixture. It's a mixture of spices. Like chili powder is a mixture of spices. Like garam masala, you kind of usually are going to be adding that at the end as opposed to the beginning. Or if you do add at the beginning, you're going to be adding it at the end again, like we essentially did here. Use of the seeds and the oil is good because they pop and they flavor the oil, but they hold on to their flavor a little bit longer throughout the cooking process. Anyway, once again, thank you so much for joining Rupert Cooks. Please like and subscribe. I love it when you do. And we will see you back here on the next one. Thanks for joining me.